Hi, today we're going to talk about histograms. Histograms are a special type of bar chart that you draw when you have intervals and the height of the bar represents the frequency of the interval and related to the width. Okay, so the main formula that you need to know for the histograms is that what you're going to represent on the y-axis, which is the frequency density, is equal to the frequency divided by the class width. So remember, we have 3 classes here, and I'm going to write beside them the width. So because remember that you don't have to have classes with the same width, you can have different widths. So to calculate the class width, you have to do the upper limit minus the lower limit. So 20 minus 0 is 20 here. That's 50 minus 20 is 30. This is the width. Then you have 100 minus 50 is 50. And 300 minus 100 is 200. Okay, so as you see, you have different widths there. Okay, so we're going to represent in an histogram the in the x-axis we're going to have the classes, but on the y-axis we're going to have the frequency density. So I recommend you to add to this to your table another column calculating the frequency density. Okay, so we said that frequency density is frequency divided by class width. So frequency here is 50. So on the first one, frequency is 50 divided by 20. So you have 2.5. Okay. The next one is 90 divided by 30. Okay, which is a 3. 120 divided by 50. And that's 2.4. And the last one is 160 divided by 200, which is 0.8. So we have our frequency density here, and that's what we're going to represent on our histogram. So I'm going to change now, and I'm going to put smaller boxes there. So now we're going to do our histogram. As I said, we're going to represent the x-axis and the y-axis different things. The y-axis is going to be our frequency density. That's our y-axis, and our x-axis is going to be our classes. So we have to divide each axis so that we can represent each one of them. So the x-axis has to be something between 0 and 300. So we can put here we can have 20, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 100, 2, 4, 6, 8, 200, 2, 4, 6, 8, 300. Okay, so that works. So we can have here, that's 20, 40, 60, that's 80, and that's 100, 2, 4, 6, 8, that's 200, 2, 4, 6, 8, that's 300. Okay, that's our x-axis done. Remember that you have to choose the appropriate divisions on your x-axis and your y-axis. Now we have on our y-axis, we have things from 0.8 to 2.5. 2, 4, 6, 8, 1. So we're going to make our y-axis higher, and we're going to put, this is 0.2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so now let's represent our histograms. I'm going to draw them in green. Okay, so for the first interval, we have from 0 to 20, and it's the frequency density is 2.5. So we go to 2, 2.2, 2.4, 2.5. Okay, so that's okay, so that from 0 to 20, that's 2.5, that's correct. And now from 20 to 50, 20 to 50, we're going to have 3. So that'll be up here, and that's the second one. Okay, now 50 to 100, that's gonna be 2.4. Okay, so 2.4, that's going to be 50 to 100, which was here. So that's 100. That's our third class. And then we're going to have from 100 to 300, that's going to be 0.8. So that's our histogram there. Okay, remember the trick is frequency density equals frequency divided by class width. Get your table with the classes and the frequencies, calculate the width of each class, calculate the frequency density for each class, and then draw your graph. Make sure that you choose the correct divisions for each axis, and then just draw your frequency densities on your y-axis and your width of your classes on the x-axis. The second thing we might get with histograms is where we're given a problem where we're given our frequencies, our classes, and the graph is partly done and we have to finish it. Okay, so how would we do this? So for example, you can see our class, again we have to remember that the frequency, our frequency density equals the frequency divided by the class width. Okay, so on the first, here we have our first class. The class width there is 4, so the frequency density is going to be 32 divided by 4. 32 divided by 4 is 8. Okay, so if we want to draw this, that's going to be up to 8. So that's our first class drawn. Okay, our first interval. The second one, if you can read it, it's a bit small, it's 2, 4, 5. Okay, so that's 3.5. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yeah, 2, 4, and that's in the middle, 2 point, that's 3.5. 3.5. Okay, so this 3.5 for the second one, that's our second interval, that's our first one. 3.5 is equal to whatever our frequency is for the second one, which we don't know, divided by our class width, which is 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. So frequency is going to be 6 times 3.5. And that's 21. So we can fill that in. Now let's go to our third interval. So our third interval, the frequency is 22. The class width is 10, so that's 2.2. So 1, 2, 3, and that's 2.2. That's correct. So now let's go to our next interval, which is 20 to 40. 20 to 40 is missing here. And 20 to 40 is 42. The width is 20. So 42 divided by 20 is 2.1. So the frequency density, our third is done, our fourth, the frequency density is 42 divided by 20 equals 2.1. So from 20 to 40 we have 2.1, which is half of that. That's going to be more or less that. Oops. Okay. Now we have 40 to 45. So it's 30 divided by the class width is 5. And that's frequency density equals 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Okay, so now that's going to be 6 here. Okay. So now our sixth interval, our sixth that's 45 to 55. So, and they've represented here 4.246. Okay, so 4.6. So our 4.6 equals whatever the frequency here is divided by the class width, which is 10. So the frequency here is 46. Okay, and then our last one, which is 55 to 70. 55 to 70. Frequency density is 9 divided by 15, which is 0.6. So from 55 to 70 we have 2, 4, 6. And that's our histogram finished, and our table of frequencies finished too. Okay, so as you can see in the histograms, the key is to remember that the frequency density equals the frequency divided by the class width.